Shanee Renee Howard.
But it's not.
So,
Gotta start the show, Ryan.
welcome to the Save Continue podcast. My name is Ryan Robinson. Every week we get together and talk about video games together. That's Tom Shelby.
Hello.
That's Shanee Howard.
Hi.
Shanee, what are we talking about this week, buddy? Oh pal, oh friend of mine.
First, I want to talk about what you've been playing.
That's a good question. That's a good ass question. First of all, I'm gonna tell you something. I just finished Final Fantasy 15.
Oh. What'd you think?
Fan goddamn tastic. I love that game.
Should I go back and finish it?
How invested were you when you stopped?
Like 10 hours in?
Do you like those characters?
They're alright. I mean, like I like Square Enix games, so I liked it. I just got but then I stopped playing it because of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't feel like you would have room in your life for two games that are that large at the same time. But no, I finished it, I'd say last week. I finished the main story. And I played 2 pieces of DLC.
Mm-hmm.
I played the Assassin's Creed stuff, which was, it was alright. And then I played episode Prompto. He's my favorite character, by the way, Prompto. And I'm also playing Yakuza Kiwami. So that's
nice.
really neat. And I'll soon be playing Torchlight 2 with my buddy old pal Tom.
Fuck yeah.
Because I just got a fucking computer. So if you want to fuck with me, remember that I'm on a computer.
Remember it.
Okay?
Or else.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? What are you playing?
Been chipping away at Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Nice.
And it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you like XCOM.
I heard that you shouldn't play that game for more than 3 battles at a time. Like, you should do 3 battles and then turn it off. Cause
Why?
I don't know. It's it's too much after that, or too tedious or something. I don't know. I've never played it.
You know, I mean, I feel like the difficulty definitely plateaus at a point. But it's fun, and there's a lot of cool movement mechanics that are not available in games like XCOM. So that's fun. I've been playing a bit of Vanquish.
Oh, hell yeah. Sliding on them knees.
Yeah, and that's always good.
Works. Yay. I came over here last week and played that. Mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, it works really well.
Very smooth with that.
And Metal Slug.
What?
The first one.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's really about it.
I didn't take you for a Metal Slug guy.
I like it. I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
You know who's really good at Metal Slug?
Who?
Corey.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's a hard-ass game.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
We met Corey recently.
I know. We talked about it.
Yeah, you weren't here.
I mean, I've talked to him before, you know.
We met him. Okay. Very famous.
Oh, also, yesterday was my birthday, and Mr. Defanoy.
Did you do it again?
He wished me a happy birthday again, and
Gosh,
I
he's
told
such a
him
classy
I'm
gentleman.
gonna get at you. You better come back on the show, you know.
You told him that?
Yeah, so we'll see.
And what did he say?
No response.
Yeah.
He's a busy man.
He's a busy guy.
But you know, I mean, last time he was on, he said he'd be happy to do it again. So we'll hit him up.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet him.
He's doing a lot of voice acting workshops all over the country right now. So
Yeah. Well, and you know, since we last spoke with him, the whole SAG-AFTRA strike happened. So it'd be interesting to get his take on that.
yeah.
Sinead, what have you been playing? And then let's do a trivia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been playing, Shanee?
I beat Persona 5,
Cool. Don't tell me anything.
waited 2 days,
And then.
and then New Game Plus.
So.
You're hooked.
I just was like, I could go back and like play these games. I also bought these games, and I should play these. And I'm like, or
Get more mileage out of that game you bought.
I can replay Persona 5.
Yeah.
Good. If
Yeah.
you're enjoying it,
Yeah,
that's
that's
good.
badass, man.
Well, Berto wants to play it.
Too bad.
And
Well, Berto can play the game when he finishes the fucking list.
You hear? You hear, Berto?
Finish the list.
Or just fix my laptop. Like,
Also, it sounds like Berto will probably be on next week, so
Yeah.
you have that to look forward to.
Yeah, we'll talk to him about that list when he gets here.
Yep, the list.
But yeah, so I've been replaying it, and I didn't know. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know there was New Game Plus at all with Persona.
That's a nice little surprise for you then.
So then I saw that, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, sweet, fuck yeah. And then
What does it change?
so all the gold you had from your last game, all of your stats,
Yen, not gold.
yen,
Okay.
whatever, money in it.
Yeah.
You keep your money, you keep your stats, you
Nice.
keep your equipped items.
You keep your girlfriend.
You not keep your girlfriend.
Okay.
But anybody
left.
anybody you leveled up, you get like a token at the end of your game, and then so when you replay it, it helps like boost that up too.
Right on.
There's a lot of confidants that have like you have to have like a level 3 or 4 in like this skill for them to like upgrade. And since I had all my skills maxed out, which you basically have to by the end of the game anyways.
What?
I'm starting the game a lot easier.
Yeah.
I'm very confident that that's fun.
But
Good one, Tom.
I wish that I knew, because I had stuff that I could have sold that I wasn't that wasn't equipped, and I could have started my new game with more money.
Sure.
But I'm not.
Just do mementos a bunch and get all the money there.
Well, I had the regenerating. There's like accessories that regenerate your SP in there.
Yeah.
So I had 4 of those equipped, so I
That's
got to
really
keep
cool.
those.
That sounds
so
useful.
so restarting it, super helpful.
Yeah. That's a great game. It's a really great
Yeah.
game.
So it's fun.
I need to finish that game.
I actually find myself more invested in the storyline now that I kind of see everything. Because before there was times that I'm like, all right, you're basically just going over the same couple sentences. I just need, I want to get to this next part.
Are you speedrunning it? That sounds like that's what you're doing right now.
No, the first time I played it.
Okay.
And I was like, I didn't really care about this one character or a couple of them, so I was like, I don't really care about your story. I'm just gonna go through and so I can get your point, and then let's move on.
Yeah.
But now that like I've played it and I know the whole story, I'm going in and looking at the conversations more to see kind of more like hints of where it's going.
Yeah.
And like and then picking different answers than I did before on like the things that I know don't matter.
Right.
Just because like, oh hey, it's new conversation that I'm not seeing.
Sure.
We gotta get you into the rhythm games, Shanae.
I'm so bad at them. You've
Gotta
seen
get
it.
you into it. They're canon.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at
them. Are you gonna be dancing all night?
No, I'm just gonna be crying and failing.
Two or 3 more
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah. They're each of them is based off of a different Persona game.
Also a new Persona Q coming out.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
Lots of Persona coming out.
All right. So what are we gonna fail at today?
Can I finish? It is
Yeah.
our trivia section in which the winner of the trivia question gets the right to cast Can I Finish, where you can say, shut up, Ryan, and Ryan can't talk for 10 minutes if he interrupts you.
I am the returning champion this week.
You also get the right to plug something at the end of the show, be it games related or not.
Uh-huh.
Today's question is a very simple one that maybe you guys will know.
Maybe.
I hope one of you guys knows.
I don't know. I mean, our gamer cred is pretty shot at this point. So
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can only go up.
I'm
Only
an
go
idiot.
up.
In the Capcom title, X-Men versus Street Fighter,
I
how do you select Akuma?
don't know.
Akuma is a character you can play as.
Mm-hmm.
You do select him from the character select screen, but he doesn't have a portrait that's just there. How do you?
I feel like it's like an alternate for another character.
Not an alternate.
You just go left.
Very close, but no.
You go up.
You go up. That's right. Any character on the top row, you press up, you get
Yeah.
Akuma.
Yeah. I don't like that guy.
I like him. Raging Demon.
Yeah, I don't like him.
Yeah.
He's kind of an asshole. He seems to fit really well in Tekken 7, though.
Mm.
I've heard things. So, since I got it right, do I win?
Yeah, you win.
Yeah.
Hey.
Like I said, try to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on a streak. I'm feeling good about myself this week. Like, I got a computer, you know?
Sure.
Your best friend's alive for another year?
That's true.
Barely.
You're going to die soon, I think.
So soon.
You mean you're smoking them cigarettes with that bad ticker?
Yeah.
You know?
What?
Did you know he's got a bad ticker?
I also live on the edge.
Yeah.
So
What are you talking about?
there's that.
He rides to work on a motorcycle, just doing a wheelie the entire time.
That's right.
Man,
Standing.
Man, that'd be badass.
Backwards.
That would be badass.
No helmet.
Tom wouldn't wear a helmet anyway. He thinks those are dumb.
He's the one with helmet hair.
I remember Extra Life last year. He told a 9-year-old that you shouldn't wear a helmet while skateboarding because it makes you look cooler when you don't. So
That's true, though. That is true.
So-
And then she threatened to kill EA.
yeah, she said.
Yeah, she did.
She's like,
She-
bring skate back, or I will find you and I will kill you.
Yeah. Then they haven't done it, so.
So I mean,
Count your days.
Yeah.
EA in general.
yeah, days are numbered. So, let's start the show. Shanae.
Today, I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
video games,
Uh,
but specifically,
You don't say.
you want to talk about video games on our video game podcast, Shanae?
I mean, I felt like it was appropriate.
Okay.
So kind of wanted to talk about. I was thinking about kind of similarities between the last couple decades in video games and things like that. And I just kind of wanted to go over some of the hits of them and kind of like how things have evolved and kind of what you have noticed as far as more like opinion stuff.
Sure.
I guess. So in the 80s, what games do you consider a hit from the 80s?
Double Dragon.
Yeah, Double Dragon was pretty big.
Yeah. So here's okay. So the 80s, there were two ways that you got a hit in the 80s. You either had a very strong arcade presence, or you were Super Mario Brothers.
That's not true.
I'm joking, but yeah. So 'cause that was like when arcades were big, right? So you had your Double Dragon, you had
Yeah, you actually are jumping a question, but yeah, the next thing I was to talk about the difference between arcade hits and home hits. So if you want to bring that into this,
that's it.
I mean, score chasers were big. They were
Sure.
games that were very short so that you could finish them in the arcade.
Sure.
You know, you want a game that is going to eat quarters.
Yeah.
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Make
So
that money.
like, and I feel like popularity there is more with Infamy, right? Because
Yeah.
like the game that munched the most quarters, people were talking about it.
Sure.
And I think that there were games that were like that enjoyed success both in the arcades and at home.
Yeah, well, you saw a lot of ports, right? You saw a lot of arcade games get ported to home consoles.
Yeah.
Some very well, some not so well. But like the thing that was always funny to me is like Guerrilla War is one of my favorite games from growing up. And I played the NES version. I never played the arcade version, and like that's a fun damn game. But like not having to pump quarters in
Sure.
meant that like you just run through the game.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a great way to port those
there was
games.
also like Dragon's Lair, Galaga, PacMan.
Was Dragon's Lair the really cartoony one?
Yeah, Dragon's Lair, and what was the space one? I forget the space one.
Fuck.
Anyway,
Space Ace.
Space Ace. Both
Yeah.
of those ported to like fucking everything. Even now,
Yeah.
you can play those on your 3DS.
Yeah.
Those were cool.
Never got the timing down on any of those games, so I never get past the first part. So.
But as far as big 80s games,
What about home console 80s?
I mean, you
games?
got to talk about Super Mario Brothers because that essentially saved video games,
Sure.
right? Like,
a lot of developers claim that that's the reason that got them into it and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
opened their creativity more, is because like of thinking about that game.
I mean, the home console market was dying due to things like ColecoVision and Atari. And
Oversaturation.
of bad games, quantity versus quality.
Yeah. Because everybody was making a console back then, right? Yeah.
Everybody was making games too. Yeah. Nintendo comes to the West and releases the NES in test markets, right?
Right.
Not the entire U.S., but like New York was a test market. I believe New Mexico was a test market, and there's no Super Mario Brothers at this point.
Yeah.
You
Just the thing.
yeah. And Super Mario Brothers and the NES, I think, are a large part of the reason that we still have video games in the way we do today.
Yeah.
And that's largely due to the success. Also, Tetris. Fucking everybody was playing Tetris. Tetris was the Wii of the 80s.
So that's a thing. That's another thing too. Like,
You didn't play video games, you played Tetris.
get your game to be a household name like Super Mario Brothers or Tetris, because even if you don't play video games, you know what those two things are.
What do you think made games like Pac-Man and Tetris and Super Mario hits?
Easy to play.
Yeah.
Anybody can play them.
Yeah.
You don't feel like that was the case for other video games of that genre that didn't, or of that era that didn't?
No, because if you look at like something like Asteroids, right, the controls from that can be confusing, even to somebody playing it today.
Yeah.
Maybe you know what to do, but actually executing on that can be difficult. Things like Galaga or Centipede.
You have a stick and a button.
Right, but that's very, action heavy. Response time is a big thing, and it is in Pac-Man too. But Pac-Man, you're worrying about directions.
Sure.
Tetris, you're worrying about rotation and direction. That's it.
Right.
And
I think that another thing about like Tom was saying, like score chasers, man, like you have a Pac-Man machine in your town,
Yeah.
and you want to be the guy who has the highest score in Pac-Man.
Or at least on the board.
Yeah. So I mean, that kind of competition is really helped spur games along, especially like when we were like arcade heavy in this country. So I feel like Pac-Man became a hit, large part because of its simplicity. conceptually it was, it's just a fun game, and
It was ported to everything.
Yeah.
It was ported quite poorly to some things, but it was ported to everything.
And just the fact of the matter is that like that competition like really, gave that game a lot of staying power, I think.
And then Mario, while I think it is obviously more complex than something like a Tetris or a Pac-Man, it did a very good job, and you need this more in games today, of teaching you without a tutorial. A lot of podcasters have talked about this. You run right, and you hit that first Goomba, and you die, and you realize, well, I can jump. Mario is the first video game character that could jump on an enemy to kill them. You run farther, and you fall in a pit, and you realize, well, I got to jump over that. It very slowly teaches you the mechanics in a very inviting way. My mom doesn't play video games. My mom loves Super Mario Brothers.
Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the king there is certainly Tetris. Tetris is the Wii.
So like,
Go
ahead.
I was gonna move on to the next because I also have overarching. So what games do you consider from the '90s hits though?
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic was a big deal.
Final
We're cooler,
Fantasy?
Well, see
we're the cooler, more aggressive, in your face, fast game.
So that's the thing too. Is like when I was thinking about it, is that one of the ways that you sold your game in like the early '90s is you're like, our game is like this game but better.
Right. And we talked about that last week with Bad Dudes and Double Dragon.
Yeah. One of the games that made games really popular like in the early '90s was you talk about like the graphics. You got a really gorgeous looking game.
Which games would you consider that falls under though?
It's hard to say. Like anecdotally, like I'd say Sonic 2 is like a very that's a great looking game.
I mean, you got to remember Genesis was out before Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So people were comparing Genesis graphics to NES graphics for a good amount of time.
Which so it was lopsided, obviously.
There's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Like the
So
Final Fantasy 7.
Mortal Kombat was a big thing. Street Fighter was a big thing.
yeah.
Legend of Zelda, Duke Nukem.
It's funny you said Final Fantasy. I mean, Final Fantasy I would dump in with the 80s, and that is a game that we
I'll
should
say
talk
Final
about.
Fantasy 7.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Final Fantasy in general, like we had other JRPGs, but none to that extent. And let's not forget, it's called Final Fantasy because that was supposed to end Square.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be their last game. Now we still have them taking 10 years to make games.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy was a big deal, and 7 for the 90s was a huge deal.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7, StarCraft, Warcraft 2, Unreal came out in the 90s.
I talked about before Final Fantasy.
Unreal Tournament.
Final Fantasy 7 is the first game I remember seeing ads for, not on TV, not in magazines. You'd see ads for Final Fantasy 7 on the side of the fucking Via bus.
Sure.
So and that was a big thing.
I think a big thing about the '90s also was to make a hit game, you like a lot of people. That was a time where like a lot of new concepts were coming out, and I feel like more recently we're iterating on those established concepts in interesting ways. But I feel like a lot of first came out of the '90s. Like I don't know of any. Were there any first-person shooters in the '80s?
Yeah, but nothing of any.
Yeah.
Because
for example, like Doom came out in '93.
Sure, I mean even Sphere of Destiny, Wolfenstein were 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Symphony of the Night was 90s.
And that's the thing too, like Symphony of the Night, and I wonder because Symphony of the Night is like that's part of like people already liked Castlevania before that.
Yeah, but it totally changed the game.
They changed what a Castlevania game was. Like they gave you the special moves, and they gave you like
all the hidden shit.
I mean,
it was
most similar to Simon's Quest, but still a huge departure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Castlevania was a big deal. I think one thing that a lot of people often overlook is games like the 90s Final Fantasy series. By 90s, I mean like 7 and onward, not so much 6 or any of that. And games like Resident Evil with pre-rendered backgrounds. Even if we're talking about things like Grim Fandango, like games with pre-rendered backgrounds did something that no games had really done before, and no games really do anymore. It's something that's lost with pre-rendered backgrounds being lost, in that, if you're playing Legend of Zelda and you go into a house and you smash a pot, and you go into another house and you smash a pot, and you go into another house and smash a pot, you're smashing the same pot every time. With pre-rendered backgrounds, it allowed for individual items to be unique. You might see a poster in this room, and in the next room it's a completely different poster. You see a vase in this room, and the next room it's a completely different vase. And that's because those backgrounds are pre-rendered, which a lot of people don't like, but it's the only time in gaming that we really had that. And I think that's important. You know, we've lost that, and we didn't have it before that.
Yeah.
You know.
But I feel like it also existed largely out of necessity due to limitations at the time.
Out of necessity, sure. I mean, that is one of the big reasons why we had pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yeah.
But it's an artistic choice and an amount of realism that we didn't have and we don't have anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you play Zelda now and like, yeah, you're going to see the same item in multiple different locations, whereas that would be a unique item every time you saw it in one of those games.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
So, how do you think a game was defined as a hit in the 90s?
Well, if Sony put it in an obnoxious green case or Nintendo put a player's choice stamp on it, that's how you know it's a hit.
Yeah.
The magazines, because there wasn't internet. I mean, there was internet, but it wasn't like super accessible for everybody.
Yeah, so your friend James wants us to do an episode on gaming magazines, and I think that's a good idea. You know, I've talked about gaming magazines. There's gaming magazines that you like, that you could respect, right? I loved Nintendo Power. I subscribed to Nintendo Power for years, and it wasn't until I was an adult that I was like, wait a minute, these guys make games and they're scoring games. I shouldn't be surprised that they're scoring all of their games really well.
Yeah.
You know, and you still see that with things like Game Informer.
Sure.
But like, what about games like Doom or Final Fantasy VII or even like StarCraft? How do you think they became hits? In a similar fashion? Or what do you think made them hits?
I think Doom's an interesting thing, right? Because like we had Wolfenstein and Sphere beforehand, and like they were popular, but like we've talked about on the show before, more people bought Doom that year than Windows.
Yeah.
You know?
You play that shit in DOS, dude.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts to think about. And what was it? Like, yeah, it's graphically it's better, but it's not
I think a lot of it had to do with
deathmatch. I don't know.
I think that it goes to the adage of, you know, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? And then you had Doom coming under fire because of how violent it was, especially for the time. And it's like, man, that game sounds pretty badass as all these people are pissed off about it. So, you know, people, like, naturally, people want to check it out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, they see, you know, that it's a really good game.
Well, let's also not forget, like, this is when shareware is at its height of popularity. So for a lot of the PC games that Shanee's talking about, like, I don't think that hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
That distribution was really, you know, really easy. So,
hey, you like this? Send us, you know, $5 more and we'll send you the rest of the game or whatever. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's before we had anything like, you know, it's before episode 1 of a Telltale game was coming out, right? Yeah. It's like the litmus test for that.
Yeah.
Demo discs.
Yeah, demo disc was a big thing. Go to fucking Pizza Hut, get a demo disc, you know?
Yeah.
Well, what about games like Symphony of the Night and stuff like that? Do you think that just the fact that it's a Castlevania game made it a hit?
No, I think Symphony of the Night was interesting because we're with the jump into 3D, you had a lot of developers and publishers not knowing how to make those types of games. Just like now we have developers and publishers not knowing how to do VR games the right way, right? So we had a lot of 3D games that were visually impressive to us at the time, but played like fucking garbage. And here's a company, when Konami was still taking risks, putting out this game that is drastically different than the other games of the series.
Sure.
And said, you know what, we don't need to make a 3D game now. We can make a 2D game that looks better than any 2D game you played before it, you know? And there's something to be said for
I think the fact that it was a Castlevania game helped sell it.
Sure.
But what made it a hit was what Tom was saying, like the departure from those established conventions.
And I think sticking to 2D helped.
Yeah.
You know? That era, we saw like some of the best sprite work for the developers that decided to stay in 2D.
Yeah.
Which was not a lot of them.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is like,
you know?
staying in 2D in an era where everybody's trying to push for like the most impressive 3D graphics, it becomes a novel concept.
I think about like the Capcom fighters, right? Think about all the later 90s Capcom fighters, whether it's Marvel vs. Capcom or, you know, Street Fighter vs. X-Men, like, you know, Street Fighter 3, like the sprite work in those games and in Castlevania as well is like fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's really impressive, we don't see that now.
How do you? I feel like obviously going from more arcade games to more home consoles from the 80s into the 90s had obviously a large effect on how multiplayer was played, and then when things like Unreal Tournament and like Quake. And came out, like it really did change how people started viewing and opening doors for, I think, the next era.
I think a lot of people view those as the birth of esports,
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of those is why they became hits. And then there's things like the Super Mario Kart that, I mean, there already was Mario Kart before.
Sure.
But I do feel like that is what I hear more of the 90s versions of Mario Kart.
There was no Mario Kart before the 90s.
I thought there was one in late 80s. Okay, well I'm getting my dates wrong.
The first Mario Kart is Super Mario Kart for the SNES, which was a 90s game.
Yeah, 1991.
But your point with Quake, like, that's the first time I can remember like watching a game. And I'm not even talking about like Twitch because we didn't have anything like that, right? But like dying and sitting there and watching what other people are doing, it's still insane to like go back and look at some of those shots that guys do in those old school shooters.
Yeah.
Those fucking Twitch shots and super quick mouse movements. It's still insane. I think you got to mention Ocarina of Time.
Sure.
We're talking 90s. You have to mention Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid.
So I think Ocarina of Time, like, that was another thing too, because we talked about Konami, staying in 2D and trying to kind of iterate on top of that, whereas that's when Legend of Zelda, that's when Nintendo took Legend of Zelda to 3D. For the first time, and gave you this huge, like, it's like you'd always been used to like an open world game in Legend of Zelda, but never experienced in that perspective, and that was a huge deal to a lot of people, because I feel like bringing that game to 3D kind of helped bring that game to life for a lot of people.
Well, and it was intuitive, right? Like if you played Link to the Past, like you knew what to do.
Yeah.
You still knew what to do. It was just in a 3D space. Things like Z-targeting, which tons of people copied afterwards. Mario 64 versus something like Nights into Dreams or Crash Bandicoot. We saw what succeeded and where 3D platformers went from there, and they copied Mario. They didn't copy Crash.
Right.
So Nintendo should definitely be applauded for the console jump into 3D at least.
Yeah.
And then I think Shanee should definitely talk about the rise of Pokemon in the 90s.
Yes. That one, it was a whole new, I don't want to say genre but it was like definitely what opened the doors for a lot of other games and people to look into them.
I mean, Pokemon hit fucking hard.
Yeah, it did something in JRPGs that, like, to my knowledge, we hadn't seen before. That whole,
it's it's because it's a pocket monster. I've always considered those their own kind of genre sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
monster collecting.
There's a lot of them out there,
Now, I mean,
a lot of people compare Persona to Pokemon.
I don't. I feel like that it's more comparable to a visual novel with RPG elements, but whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So like.
But yeah, no. I mean, the popular Pokemon, you're right, hit hard, and it took everyone by storm. It was all over.
And they ticked all the right boxes, right? Cartoon, card game, video game, like, yeah.
Like stuffed animals.
I
like
remember,
they merchandise that game really smart.
Yeah.
There's I knew so many kids that are actually like your kids that don't play the Pokemon card game but collected the cards. Didn't play the video game but collected the cards because people in the neighborhood did. I mean, forever, since the beginning of video games, word of mouth has always been a very obvious reason why games become popular, because people say that it's good.
And Pokemon definitely had that playground effect, right?
And Pokemon,
because it
was everywhere. There's so much merchandise.
Like kids
and like people who didn't know the name of like they didn't know the name of the show. They just called it the Pikachu show. They had Pikachu.
Everybody knows Pikachu, right?
They had their mascot, and it was cute.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was chubby.
Yeah.
And everyone loved it.
Yeah.
Now it's skinny. But
like it's not crazy to think in like another 10 years that like He's probably just as synonymous as like Mickey fucking Mouse, you know, like
Or
Superman,
Mario.
right?
Everyone knows Mario's
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Like it was the next Mario Brothers because everyone knows Mario's names. Like, I mean, granted, his name is also in the title, so it makes it a little bit easier.
Right.
Super Mario,
But-
Mario.
And Luigi Mario.
Mario, and Luigi Mario. You are correct. Everyone knows their names, but
Like
yeah.
a Cheers.
Where everybody knows Pikachu's name.
Well, and I feel like Pokemon did something. Like we talked about this. I think we talked about this last week, in that Pokemon did something that other JRPGs weren't doing, in that they didn't give you some world-ending calamity to go up against. Like you're just
a kid.
like just a kid. Like go,
You just
like
want
just
to
go out
be
there.
badass.
Yeah, just go out there, do your best.
Jolly ass game.
That's it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And
And
also,
you don't see enough of that. Like
Yeah.
even now, you don't see enough of it.
And also, like, I feel like they capitalize on, like, look, kids like collecting things, and they like sharing things. Well, and they like trading things too.
And they like shiny things.
Sure.
So let's call them shiny Pokemon. Have them be a variant color.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse.
Sure.
And that gives something to kids can brag about, even if it's not great.
Yeah. Also, like Metal Gear Solid, I think is a very important game. I think for people that wanted more out of gaming, like it gave them that, you know.
Yeah.
As far as story in games, cinematics in games,
Sure.
Metal Gear Solid was very important.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of those games, right, that like opened people's eyes to like what kind of tales could be told in this medium. Which
Yeah. I mean,
think,
there are games that tried it before,
yeah.
but it was not as good. It was not
Yeah.
as good.
I think it was like a combination of a lot of different things, right?
What was first Half-Life?
98.
I think that's owed a lot for the same reasons as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fallout 2 was also the 90s.
Yeah.
But people didn't pick up on Fallout like they did with 3.
Yeah,
You know?
so like that's the thing too, is that Fallout, which like to be honest, I found Fallout 1 and 2 by accident.
Yeah.
Like I had never heard of them prior.
It did well enough, but it wasn't on the level
like,
of these other games.
And so like I played those games, and
So you wouldn't consider it a hit?
I don't.
No.
It's hard to say because like Interplay did a lot of like they had some hits. Like they had Earthworm Jim, you know. But
From Jim had a cartoon and
Yeah.
action figures.
yeah, so like here's the thing though, is that like
Bring it back.
Fallout, like, I played those games in like the early 2000s, because and by that time, like Fallouts 1 and 2 had been out for about 4 years. And then after I played those, like I'd never heard about them again. Like the only people that I talked to about that game are the people that I let borrow that game.
Yeah.
And I never heard about it again. And then, like 8 years later,
Bethesda picks it up.
Bethesda's like, hey, we bought Fallout, we're making another game. So
I also think it's important. We didn't go over it for the 80s, and it was also part of the 90s. It was licensed games that were good.
Spider-Man 2.
Literally every platformer that Disney was putting out,
Sure.
Capcom was putting out for Disney.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
The Lion
that shit
King.
sold, right? Like
Oh man, Aladdin.
people were buying those games just based off the properties, but they
Sure.
were good games.
Yeah.
You know?
That Aladdin Cave of Wonder scene, super difficult.
The cool
even
thing,
now.
the cool thing about Aladdin though is depending on the platform you got a different game.
which was a big thing back then,
Yeah.
right? But then that's not just Aladdin. That's tons of games. It's a different game if you're playing the Genesis version or the SNES version, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something you see nowadays. It'd be awesome if I could buy the same game on PS4 and Xbox One, and they're literally two different games.
That would be cool.
You know?
And then you could really say it's better on PlayStation.
Sure.
Here's the thing though, is that I remember in the 90s, there were, and maybe I'm just not noticing it as much now, but in the 90s there were a lot of comic book character games. Like I saw a lot of X-Men games. I saw a lot of DC Comics games.
And some of them were good, some of them were bad, but
But like there were a lot of them.
there were a lot of them.
I know of at least 3 in our next category, which is the early 2000s.
See, and I feel like that the 2000s is when licensed games got really bad.
Yeah.
You know, there were exceptions, but most of them were just hot garbage.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of them, a lot more than there are now.
But what would you say? What would either of you say were hits of the early 2000s?
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 was huge,
Yeah.
along with Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk was fucking huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because like I feel like the success of Tony Hawk has quite a bit to do with when it came out. Uh, like I feel like
I'll be right back.
okay, people would still buy a Tony Hawk game now. People bought Tony Hawk 5.
I bought it.
They bought Tony Hawk Shred.
That's true. And Ride.
Yeah, but I feel like the early 2000s was when you sold like a licensed skateboard game. Because I feel like that's when when Tony Hawk's mainstream popularity was like at its peak.
Yeah, I think his X Games in 98 or 99 when he lands the 900 and
Yeah.
people start knowing Tony Hawk by name like they used to in the 80s,
Yeah.
right?
And then, but even before that, like you also had like other licensed like games with athletes on them. But we saw like after the success of Tony Hawk though, that spread along games like Kelly Slater's Pro whatever. I don't know.
Surfer.
I forget what Kelly Slater does, and there's like a Pro wakeboarder and all those other
Matt Hoffman and all
Yeah.
that. Dave Mira's BMX and all that shit.
Yeah. But like,
And some of them were great, some of them were terrible.
yeah.
And
that's the thing too, is that like early 2000s, man. Well, I guess it was more mid 2000s. The Superman Returns, and like there were people like asking like, is it gonna be the first? Is it gonna be the first good Superman game? Nope.
a lot of people like it.
Yeah.
A lot of people like it.
I didn't care for it, but like, and I would love to see a good Superman game, but like, how do you do it?
I don't think that game was bad for the time, Like those games were popular. Beat 'em ups were popular.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Are we talking about the same game?
No, we're not.
Okay.
Because I feel like you're talking about Death and Return,
I'm probably talking about Death and Return. You're
which
right.
came out
You're right.
in like the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know, man. 2000s.
Because
What sticks with you from that? I mean, Halo, right?
yeah,
Halo
and-
was big for FPS on console.
Yeah, that sold Xboxes, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the first hit is like that's back when the game the game sold the console, right? Like there was a point like the NES launched without Mario, but it got to the point where Mario sold NESs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sonic sold Genesis, right? Halo sold the Xbox. And that's not something I don't feel like we see as much of anymore. Like sure, like you had people buying the Xbox 360 for Gears, but like I feel like there was more there were more like exclusives setting those things apart.
Sure.
And they had a larger impact like
I
earlier.
mean, you see deals like the Capcom 5, which we talk about, and like that's something that I think is very notable. Is Resident Evil 4, the return of Shinji Mikami, his first return, right? That game was huge.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4
was
sold
huge.
GameCubes when that was
Yeah.
exclusive.
All right, what games have y'all talked about while I was gone?
All of them.
Yeah, we talked about literally every video.
We talked about Halo.
Yeah, we did.
What about because also in there was Portal.
Yeah, Portal was a big deal for
Yeah.
sure.
I
mean, the Orange Box in general.
Crazy Taxi, The Sims.
The Sims is huge. People don't realize how huge The Sims is. It is like one of the best-selling PC franchises.
Oh yeah.
There will. I think even with Maxis not really being a thing anymore, I think there will be Sims 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sims is very, very good call, Shanae. Also, it's like
Half-Life?
second.
I mean, The
Life.
Sims is
Half-Life 2.
okay. So Half-Life 2, I think.
Portal.
So hold on. So first Half-Life kind of did, they kind of established like what kind of storytelling could take place in a first-person shooter, right?
Yep.
And then they fleshed out the writing like to an enormous degree for Half-Life 2 and its accompanying episodes. And also like the source engine at the time was just it was quite amazing.
Yeah.
To look at. So that really helped it out too. Also being the sequel to like one of the coolest first-person shooters of like the past 10 years
Sure.
at the time, like that certainly didn't hurt either.
Also in the 2000s, we see like mods like really becoming a thing. Like it's around in the 90s, right? We see the rise of it with shareware games like Doom and all that. But like 2000s, especially with things like the Source Engine, you just get like a ridiculous amount of modders coming out of the woodwork.
You also saw a lot more MMOs.
Yeah.
World of
Yeah.
Warcraft, Guild Wars. I played a lot of MMOs in the early 2000s.
So I had thought about MMOs and like what made World of Warcraft take off the way that other MMOs that had preceded it hadn't.
This
And I feel like it has a lot to do with accessibility.
Another thing is, it started on a franchise that people already loved that
Sure.
were playing on PC. People love those RTS games.
Sure.
And people wanted to know about the lore.
Sure.
Now, like, there is a lot of people who play it, like, and play it on, like, servers where it's, like, pretty much easy mode, so they can just get the lore, because
Right.
that's all they care about.
Right.
I mean, they created an MMO that caters to a lot of different playing styles,
Right.
without it ever really feeling like it ends, and have continued to add more and more to it.
So it's like just a way to get like as much Warcraft as you want. This is the game for you.
Sometimes it's too much Warcraft.
Real quick, I mean, it's kind of off topic, but it's kind of not. This last week's Switch event, you know, it was different between the American version and the Japanese version. Phantasy Star Online 2. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Phantasy Star International.
I don't know, because like I remember the first
Not International, Last Hope.
the first MMO I ever heard about, to my recollection, was EverQuest. And it had always kind of existed as this like nebulous concept to me, because like I had no way of like exposing myself to it. But I think that like when World of Warcraft came out, like that was the first MMO that like had that level of mainstream recognition.
Sure.
They had all that StarCraft money from, as well, to like help.
Oh, yeah.
To help
Yeah.
with like making more of both of them.
Yeah.
Blizzard always has had quite a bit of money and quite a bit of success.
Sure. And
So
look,
they make good products.
yeah.
I think there's a couple of things from the 2000s that we've left out that like really were a big deal. SOCOM was fucking huge.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty.
Sure, but like, so I mean,
Battlefield.
SOCOM is kind of before this, right? Like, online shooters on consoles
Wasn't really a thing.
wasn't. Yeah, there was, things like Medal of Honor, but you're not really
Well,
you
I'm
weren't
not-
really playing online. SOCOM was like chat headset. You're buying it with the chat
Yeah, like came
headset
with the
and the
headset.
network adapter.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing.
And like
But
clan
I think
support
there's a
and all that
difference
shit.
between
Yeah.
something that's like majorly influential and then a hit.
Well, SOCOM was a hit.
Oh no, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying.
You know why?
Like the fact that SOCOM was like more influential doesn't mean that it's necessarily a better hit than any of the like Call of Duty launches. Or
At the
like
time,
that.
it was though.
Yeah, because I think.
And the only reason the latest SOCOM failed is because an online game released the day of the month-long PSN crash.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like, it also is kind of like also a different way, like how you interpret a hit, right? Like, are we talking like, because it could be commercially successful.
And SOCOM was moving units though, right?
Yeah.
People were buying PlayStation 2 for SOCOM.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but then it could also
But
be
in
like,
in the 2000s, a lot of people were buying 360s for Halo.
But this is still the 2000s. This is before that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like, that's the thing too, is that like, I think one of the things that made SOCOM, you know, such a hit is because like it wasn't like console shooters, like online console shooters just weren't a thing, and then you gave people an arena to actually, like play against each other for like instead of like playing with my friend, like playing GoldenEye with my friend like on the couch, I can play with some dude in fucking North Carolina and blow his head off, and then use my headset that I'd never used it on console before to talk shit to him afterwards. So it's like a whole thing.
Also huge with, the recent news of GTA 5 being the best selling game, GTA 3.
Yeah.
Like, that was extremely important, and that was undeniably a hit.
Yeah, so, and I feel like that's another one too, like GTA 3 sold PlayStation 2s.
Yeah.
So what do you think made hits in the 2000s? Like, what do you think made a game a hit?
Like, what helped it become a hit, or?
Yeah, that was distinct to that decade.
I mean, well, the rise of online play in the console space. We've had online games since the early 90s on consoles, but not much in this country.
Yeah.
And even the countries that did support it, it wasn't really heavily supported.
Right.
So you see the rise of online games. You see the rise of indie games.
You
I
see
think
the rise of
those are all
more mobile
important.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then these huge fucking worlds like Grand Theft Auto.
Right. You know,
There's shit like, Shenmue and all that, but like, it doesn't compare
Yeah.
to GTA.
I feel, but we are kind of missing the biggest hit of the 2000s.
What's that?
The Wii.
Plants vs. Zombies.
The Wii. I'm gonna say that console was the biggest hit.
Sure, absolutely.
And it brought in a lot of things that people felt from the 80s and early 90s.
Sure.
It was accessible for every single person.
It made video games simple again, right? Which I think there's a lot of things that's one of those things that I think, as consoles became more advanced, they just turn people off.
Simple and more complicated, though.
Yeah.
Set up this fucking sensor bar.
Sure.
Get all these weird controllers out.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
get the attachments for the controllers so they're more sensitive.
But once all that shit's set up, anybody could play it.
Sure.
And anybody can break their TV.
Oh yeah, the rise of Wii fail videos, fantastic.
Because
Great. 2006 was a great year.
Because if you're going for commercial success,
then
if you look up lists of games for a lot of years in the 2000s.
Sure.
Wii games are at the top because everybody had it.
Well, and if we're talking about
Wii
games
Sports,
that really sold, Wii Sports. I don't really count Wii Sports because it was a pack-in.
No, that was Play.
No, Wii Sports was a pack-in.
Oh, you're right.
But and eventually it was a pack-in. But Mario Kart for Wii is just a crazy high-selling game.
Yeah.
Even Super Mario Brothers for the Wii and the DS, respectively.
Game sucks.
The DS one, the Super Mario for the 3DS actually sold better than the Wii version, but that's
surprising.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah. Just a smidge.
Just a
little
smidgy baby boy.
800,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also came out 3 years prior. So.
Galaxy sold extremely well, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But does a Mario game ever sell poorly?
I think that there are definitely some that have
there's
underperformed.
Mario and Luigi's Partners in Time that did that.
I bet Mario is Missing didn't do so well.
I mean, there's game they all.
Well,
are,
even mainline games, right? Like 3D World. While a lot of people that had a Wii U bought it, not a lot of people had a Wii U.
Yeah.
So that game kind of did underperform.
Yeah.
No fault to the game; it's a great game, but
Yeah.
There's games that didn't do as well in the Mario franchise as the other ones, but they all have done commercially well.
Sure. Mario's hungover and didn't sell well.
Dr. Mario.
Mario goes to work.
Yeah, Mario's not really a doctor, man. I don't really feel like I just trust any pills that guy gave me.
He's wearing the coat.
And he's throwing them at you. He doesn't even write a prescription. He just throws the pills at you.
Sure.
So, can't trust that.
So, I know that we are only in 2017, but let's go for the 20-teens, because I don't know what else to call them.
The tweens.
The tweens, I guess.
Yeah, the tweens would be apt.
Would you say it would be considered hits, and would still be considered hits years from now, of the last 7 years?
GTA 5.
Yes, that was what I was going to say immediately.
Yeah, Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft.
Minecraft is ridiculous. Minecraft sells... we talked about it earlier.
This guy announced for 3DS.
Yep. We talked about it earlier on the news, so if you listen to that, cool. Awesome. We appreciate it. But yeah, Minecraft...
Counter-Strike Go.
Minecraft has probably sold more than Grand Theft Auto, but they're still ridiculously selling games.
Sure.
Even more than the pack in Wii Sports and Wii Play.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this stuff already.
Yeah.
Because we're living it.
Yeah.
We're in it.
Journey. We've seen a lot more hits than probably I think that I can name of. Yeah. Maybe I'm just because I'm more into it.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Well, yeah, indie scene, right?
Biggest hit of the decade.
Braid, Limbo, Meat Boy. These are the games that really kicked off that initiative. Yes, there were indie games before, but not in that way.
I thought Braid was in the early 2000s.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still feel like we still get more.
The Witness.
The Witness.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that was pretty popular.
Jonathan blows The Witness.
Oh, yeah. Jonathan blows The Witness. Yes, that's right. He blew The Witness.
That's right.
I don't know. It's just, and it's funny because the way that games become hits is so much different than the way that they became hits, in years past. You make a game a hit by you put that shit on Twitch and get a bunch of people watching it, and then you make your game a hit.
Battlegrounds.
You put a Let's Play on YouTube, you're a well-known guy, you make that game a hit, So
well, it's funny, you're saying that, and that's true. Think about some of the games that have done the best over the past few years. Rocket League,
Yeah.
PUBG. Like these are extremely
Overwatch.
twitchable games.
Yeah, like these
you
games
know?
that people like to stream.
Yeah.
Like that's how you make those games a hit.
Even I still have people see even streaming Limbo still.
Yeah, and it's not to say that those games aren't good on their own merits, but like, you know, Twitch and YouTube, that sells shit. That's why they call those people influencers, because like that you can sell games like with those avenues. So.
I know
And
when
then
I was
also-
playing PUBG, I felt like I was under the influence.
You feel like you were influenced into buying that?
Yeah.
My
No, Berto bought it for me actually.
my nephews get a lot of my old systems. Like their newest console
Your scraps.
is a PS3, which I gave them.
That's actually a pretty good gift to get, though. I'd like a PS3.
Should have given it to Ryan.
Yeah. So
I didn't want to buy them anything for Christmas.
I guess you don't want to buy me anything for Christmas either. So.
Nope. So they not so much my younger nephew, but my older nephew. He definitely watches a lot of stuff on YouTube and Twitch.
Right.
Some of it's just because he doesn't have the console and he can't afford it, and my
Yeah.
sister can't afford to be buying. I can't afford it really either.
Yeah.
I mean, she just bought them a house, so.
So yeah, that kind of okay. So that actually reminds me of something. So like, you know, when I was a kid, I used to go to the I used to go to the arcade a lot, and you know, if I didn't have enough tokens or quarters to play an arcade game, then I decided that what I was gonna do is watch other people who had the tokens and quarters to play that game, because like I can't play it, so I might as well watch people playing it. I feel like there's something to that.
I've got a question.
And there's.
We're talking about what games were hits, and like we failed to mention any of these games, and they're probably some of the biggest hits. And I want to know why you guys think that is. Games like Angry Birds and Candy Crush Saga, and Words with Friends.
I said mobile.
Draw
game.
something like those. Yeah,
Draw
but those games have made so much money.
Yeah, because those are
you know?
so.
If their video games are hits, those are it.
I think okay, so I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier when we were talking in the garage about it. Is that with Candy Crush, like it's a game that you don't really have to do anything. Like you can just kind of like pick it up and play it.
But they're not all that way, right?
Right,
Angry
but-
Birds did extremely well.
Right, but like so with Candy Crush, like specifically, like you don't really have to do anything. It's just something to distract you for a little bit. Like you're on the bus or you're waiting in line or something. You just
Sure.
like crush a few candies, right? With Angry Birds,
Do you really crush candies in that game?
Yeah.
the candies are crushed. Yes.
Okay.
So I've watched it with my
Is there like
with my own eyes.
a satisfying chomp?
There's not a.
Sometimes when you get different stuff, I played it a fuck ton.
I
got-
can see how that game would be addictive. Like there's like a lot of.
Me, my sister, and my mom all played it, and we all since we're all friends on Facebook, we would challenge each other's kind of like scores, and we would text or call each other.
Yeah.
Like, and we were talking about other stuff. Like, oh, by the way, passed you up in Candy Crush, and then say bye.
Also, it's
And
free.
so it's free to play.
Free to
in
play. Free to play.
quotations.
Free to play.
Yeah.
Not free to beat.
Yeah.
So I asked you guys this question, like already having an answer in mind in my head as to why they're, what makes these games popular, and that is that, and this is coming out more and more recently, especially this week, that these games are looking to gambling and casino studies to see what it is that hooks people.
Yeah.
I find that very predatory. But you're an adult, I guess. Make your own decisions.
Sure.
But I do think it's definitely indicative of how we have really progressed through kind of the hits and kind of people in more and more industries kind of recognizing it and putting that much effort into it.
Yeah.
Because that was what really made me think of this topic is thinking about
Casinos.
casinos and thinking about how people play games has affected what's popular through the decades. And so like how mainly multiplayer as well as kind of thinking of when the 80s it was a lot of just like arcade games. So like if you had someone to play against in Mortal Kombat or Tekken or play like Time Crisis or whatever.
Only one of those games was from the 80s that you just named.
It wasn't Time Crisis.
I know it wasn't Time Crisis.
I would like to see an 80s version of Time Crisis.
I was just thinking about games that I had played in arcade.
Time Crisis might as well have been from the 80s.
Don't say that to me.
But like really how you played multiplayer in the 80s was in the arcade, just you and another person,
Sure.
normally.
And on the couch too.
Do it on the couch.
I played Guerrilla War co-op on
What
the
is
couch.
Guerrilla War?
It's a SNK shooter, top down. Like think of like Metal Slug top down, similar to Shock Troopers.
Okay, I know Shock Troopers.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's a good game.
War
and
were
then
declared.
and then how it's really
Guerrilla War.
evolved to like an online format, and it's turned into where I still feel it. I feel like a lot of people get similar satisfaction from watching people on Twitch
Yeah.
now. They're as they did from and like commenting and being a part of it and laughing and like seeing the gameplay.
Sure.
And feeling like they're playing it as well with this person, or at least cheering them on.
Yeah.
As we got from like playing with people in like in the arcade to playing like couch co-op to playing multiplayer to playing
To the absence of couch co-op. Like it's still there, but not in the same way.
Yeah.
The split screen is pretty much dead.
Yeah, and then to even playing like mobile games like
Yeah.
Candy Crush, and like me and my sister and mom having competitions over it.
Sure.
That's
So,
cute.
Score chasers,
Yeah.
Scorchers.
Yeah.
scorchers,
You guys are a trio of scorchers.
for sure.
So like,
And how our competition throughout it has really made games hits, in my opinion.
So you think the competitive scene is what's done this?
Oh, I just think it's obviously had an influence on it, and it was fun to think about.
Absolutely.
early on, of
That was
course.
all. It was fun.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even now, I mean,
More so now, though, right? Like she's saying, think about things like Twitch,
Speedrunners.
which obviously, yeah, exactly. Even if it's not a competitive game, you can make it competitive.
Yeah.
Or,
And any game can be a
even
co-op
play-
game if you
or-
try hard enough.
Or even playing
Evo, the
like
Capcom
Halo
Cup, you know.
or Call
Yeah.
of Duty. All of
Yeah.
that is competitive on online.
I don't believe that, Shanae. I'm joking. Yes, I do. Just want to
I don't
argue
believe
with
in
you.
that.
I don't believe in competition.
I don't believe anything that a woman says.
So I
Oh,
feel
man.
like there's like throughout that there's been a lot of like really fun that really fun aspect to it that has kept people around video games
Yeah.
and involving. But there's also I also really think it's fun seeing the hits that are single player only and how they've kind of evolved and changed and what they've been throughout the decades.
You know what I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to Xbox One and PS4 greatest hits. You know?
I feel like they don't do that anymore.
They do.
They did it last gen.
They do.
So why not do it this gen? Maybe it just hasn't been long enough. You don't know.
I guess I don't know, Tom.
I want some weird colored box to stand out with
I
the rest
feel
of
like-
the boxes.
I feel like Last
I
of
feel
Us.
like-
I felt like Last of Us got a greatest hits
No, it did not.
after.
Well,
It didn't.
No.
I feel like if it were going to happen, then Infamous would have had a greatest hits addition to it already.
The last version of Last of Us was Last of Us Remastered, which is basically just a up-resed port
They touched it up a bit.
with what's the fucking DLC called?
Left Behind,
Left Behind included. Yeah,
Okay.
which is excellent DLC, by the way.
it is excellent. Yeah.
If I would like to see greatest hits come back, but I feel like they just reused.
What color would you want them to be?
Man,
They were red on PS3,
So they
No,
were
Kinect was
green.
purple.
They were green on PS1, red on PS2,
red on PS3.
red on PS3.
Purple would be cool, Sinead. No
Purple-
one cares about
purple,
Kinect anymore.
Purple's oh, true.
Yeah, purple would be cool.
I don't think I think you have to buy an adapter to hook a Kinect up to an Xbox nowadays.
Yeah. Man, what would yellow for PlayStation? Yellow greatest hits. There we go. Done.
Nintendo's always look real nice, like the player's choice for the Wii.
Yeah.
Those always look real nice.
I like and all
Very
the,
classy.
I liked all the different Mario game colors cases ones. A lot of them that are like Nintendo had like really fun cases.
The Year of Luigi. Yeah.
Year of Luigi. I dressed as Luigi as work. It was pretty fun.
I've seen that picture.
I'd like you to go as Waluigi because he's my favorite.
I can do like a casual Waluigi. I
Maybe-
can try and make that happen.
What's a casual?
You gotta hit it hard, all
What's
right?
casual Waluigi?
I'm not gonna go and buy the
Yes, you are.
direct outfit,
Make it by hand.
Yeah.
but I have clothes very similar to it where you'll get the point across, and I got fake mustaches.
Do you have the gloves with the L's on them?
No, but
I don't want you to get the point across, Shanae. I want you to come in here for the podcast dressed as Waluigi.
You're like,
and
"Wah!"
for me to look over and be like, oh my god, he's here.
Yeah. And like, take that, Mr. Eyeballs.
Yeah. So do that.
I
Yeah.
feel like you'd be a better Waluigi than me.
Nah.
Your Waluigi impression just sounds like a mobster.
That's what he sounds like. Wah.
Yeah.
Wah.
Yeah. I mean, well, it does like, wah. Should I plug something?
What do you want to talk about? I don't think it should have to be a plug. I think you can just talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Anything fun happened this? Anything fun you've been thinking about this week?
My computer.
So Ryan got
What are you most excited about?
an
What are you
MSI
most excited
Apache
to play?
laptop.
I bought an MSI Apache laptop. In fact, I was so excited that I took pictures of it. I took pictures of myself with it.
It's got GTX 1070 in there.
Yeah, that's the motherfucking beast, right?
Nice.
Well, especially since we've stepped away from the mobile moniker, is now like technically desktop grade 1070.
Yeah,
which is cool.
yeah. And it's funny. The first game that I installed on it is
Does not really need all that power.
yeah, it's about
Doom?
no. I Torchlight 2 because
Oh.
I saw Tom. Look, Tom was.
Is that going to be the first game you're going to play?
I think so, yeah. So Tom he reinstalled Torchlight 2 on his computer, right? And he was going through the characters and he was going through all his pets, and I saw this little pit bull baby boy, little pit bull baby. And
Animated drool.
yeah, he has animated drool and he just slobbers all over stuff. I was like, I need
That
this
was
game.
bulldog.
Yeah.
You said
I said pit bull.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a bulldog. It's a bulldog baby boy. He's got his floppy yops and he's all chubby and I want him. So
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, this is gonna be my game.
Well,
So.
yeah, I'm excited for Ryan to be playing some computer games.
Yeah, and also like Tom texted me recently about a Humble Bundle. He's like, now it'll mean something when I tell you these things.
Yeah.
Because like he'll tell me about Humble Bundles. And I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Because my whole thing is like, well, you could buy these before you get your computer, and you'll just have them once you get your computer.
But I have a complex about buying things that I can't touch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get that.
Like
Instant gratification.
there are a lot of Steam sales that I passed up on because I was like, well, I can't play them right now. So like I can buy those games, or I can spend my money on games that I can play right
I
now.
think Psychonauts might still be free on Humble. I'm not positive.
Yeah.
Message you guys about that.
Yeah. That'll be the third time I would have installed Psychonauts.
It'll be the third platform on which I will have owned Psychonauts,
Mm-hmm.
but it is also probably the best version of Psychonauts. The PS2 version of that game does not hold up, and that's the version you get on PS4.
So I got this computer, and it's pretty huge. It's off camera right now. I'm not gonna pick it up and show you guys, but it's a pretty huge computer. I'll probably post some pictures of it to the Soch. It's got the light up keyboard with all the colors on it. I brought it over last night, and Tom graciously waited for Windows to update with me for like 2.5 hours, and he helped me get rid of all my bloatware, and made it nice and slick for me.
Thanks, Tom, for doing it on his birthday.
Well, it wasn't technically his birthday by the time I got here, so.
When Ryan went
Birthday
home, I put it
weekend.
in the trash.
Yeah, he put it in the trash and then he fished it back out. But no, I'm excited to actually be able to be part of the conversation when it comes to video games, computer games rather.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a conversation that I've missed out on for years.
Download World of Warcraft. See how you like it.
No, I'm not.
You know, I jumped into World of Warcraft like way too late because like Bonnie and Sarah were still playing it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll play it with you guys. I like Diablo. I'm sure I'll like this.
Not for you.
Uh-uh.
I feel
By
like
the time I played it, it was not a good
the
looking game.
MMO that you played that you enjoyed was Old Republic, right?
I liked Old Republic, and they're very similar,
Yeah.
but also very different.
Yeah. Well, now we can both get Conan Exiles and play with that dong slider.
I don't want to play that game.
I'm gonna get that dong slider, and I'm gonna do a whole
it- make it
video
so tiny.
of. I'm gonna check it out on my character's dong in that game.
Yeah.
The whole video is gonna be 10 minutes of me doing it back and forth.
You can't do this on Xbox. Whoop, 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 whoop.
It'll be like those fucking Pornhub videos where it's like grow your ding dong larger in a week, and it's like whoop 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 whoop. It'll be like that. So that's my.
How come there's no video? Like, there's nothing for ladies to grow their vagina larger.
I don't think they want that.
No,
I mean, I
grow it smaller.
like shrink it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Some
know.
don't want that. They get a surgery for that.
Yeah. I
Because
don't-
society's told them they should be ashamed of their vaginas.
Well, Shanee told me I should be ashamed of my ding dong. Okay.
But there is boob growers. That's been a thing for a while.
Yeah. I'll get one of those. Grow my boobs out.
Nice long boobs.
We were talking about the comparison between ding dongs and hoo-has, and then you're just like you got a small ding dong, that'd be attractive, but that nice small tight ding dong. And I'm gonna end the show on that note, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us once again at the Save Continue podcast.
If you guys have any small ding dongs,
Let us know in the comments below.
send pictures to.
Send pictures to Ryan.
No, send them to Shanee. Her phone number is, well, that joke's played out.
Yeah.
My name's Ryan Robinson. That's Tom Shelby.
Goodbye.
That's Shanee Howard.
Bye, guys.
See you next week, guys. Now, Shanee, I need to use the bathroom. Thank you, Shanee. Thank you, Shanee. I feel like every time I sit in this room and I wear jeans, my pubic mound sweats.
You gotta trim that shit back, man.
No, I trimmed it just a few days ago. Actually, I shaved it.
You don't want to shave it, man.
I shaved it because I just went like, to hell with it.
This is nice and smooth, huh?
It's not smooth. They got the stubble coming in. But...
The stubble's the worst. You don't want stubble.
Sometimes it can be a soft stubble.
I don't feel like Ryan has a soft stubble.
about Shawn Ashmore.
I do.
Oh, now you do.
Fuck yeah.
You didn't care about him before, though.
No, I did not, but things have changed. Quantum break, bitch.
Quantum break me off a piece of that pussy.
Oh, God. Because all I'm imagining is like a candy bar named Pussy.
Oh. Hey.
Oh.